part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome to another Reghi Roda podcast powered by MGM Northfield Park right here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Shout out to our fantabulous producer, Ty Quartz, making sure all of you out there in the podcatosphere are able to check this R&R podcast out. And Reg, it's been a while since we've been together, and we've got a lot to get to. So let's tackle the Cleveland Browns first and foremost. Free agency, they didn't waste any time addressing their biggest need, Michael, and that was the defensive line. Just your thoughts on the moves that Andrew Berry, Paulie Analytics, and the rest of the Ivy League front office made in the early stages here of free agency.
Yeah, tackling is an appropriate word, Ken, the Browns defensive line, because they didn't do a lot of it real well last year against the opposition run game. And so, yeah, that's where Andrew Berry had to start. And look, he went out and made 3 moves there to bring in 3. I'm saying more 4, actually, if you count the edge. Abania Okoronkwo, I believe is how it's pronounced. But, you know, I was more concerned with the interior defensive line guys. And Ken and Dalvin Tomlinson, you know, I really believe as far as that first tier, if you will, of interior free agent D linemen in the NFL, Tomlinson was definitely a part of that. It does address the largest roster need. Now, he's a little bit older than Andrew Berry likes. He's 29 years old, but you have to think that as well as he's defended and played against the run, specifically with a solid pressure rate against opposition run games, and his strong work with the Minnesota Vikings, New York Giants before that, 64 starts, I believe, in a 4-year period, started every game with the Giants. And so, Kenny, right there, to me, that makes them a better defensive line on the interior, because it just wasn't up to NFL standards. And you got the young guys that you hope they make a step forward, but you had to go get somebody like Tomlinson. So right there, yes, I like that in that initial Andrew Berry move. And he went out and got a guy who has done it and done it with success against the run, especially in the league.
Reg, I like the fact that they didn't wait around. They went out, they were aggressive, and they picked up 3 defensive tackles and a defensive end, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know much. I'll be honest with you. I don't know much about Tristan Hill. I don't know much about Maurice Hurst, to be perfectly honest with you. I've heard of Obo Okoronkwo, and I know of Dalvin Tomlinson, and he's the star of this free agent class so far, along with the safety Juan Thornhill, where they needed help on the back end, and they go get a 2-time Super Bowl champ to maybe help communicate in the secondary so guys aren't running free on 40, 50, 60, 70, 80-yard touchdown passes. So Tomlinson and Thornhill, to me, are the elite players, if you will, just of this class that they've signed so far. But Hurst, Okoronkwo, and Hill obviously are going to help. Do you see Obo as the bookend for Myles Garrett? Is he the new Jadeveon Clowney? Is that the guy replacing Clowney, in your opinion?
He better be.
Okay.
I know. Andrew Berry is counting on that. No question about that. Doesn't mean that they might not continue potentially in the draft, but then you're talking about a rookie. So, yeah, this is why Okoronkwo was brought in here to do that. And Clowney regressed in 2022, Ken, and then the damn guy quit on the team with 3 weeks left in the football season. So, but the 3rd-round pick, how much do we talk? Alex Wright.
Yeah.
He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready last year. Now, obviously, you hope that the progression begins here in year 2 for this young man, but he was a 3rd-round pick, and you got to have 3rd-round picks hit, Ken. You and I've talked about that ad nauseum, and he didn't hit much in 2022. No sacks at all. So, let's hope he makes a major improvement so that he can be a part of this rotation. Mo Hurst was very solid in his days with the Oakland Raiders. I know that they're hoping that he can, relive that. He's a run-stopping guy. Played for the 49ers last year, but I think he made 18 career starts with the Raiders in the couple of years before that. So, but he too, there's another one that has to hit. You mentioned Juan Thornhill. I really like Thornhill, and I think he's an upgrade from John Johnson. So it's going to be him and Grant Delpit, right? Back there at those safety spots. And Thornhill is an excellent tackler to me. And I want my safeties to be able to tackle, Kenny, first and foremost. Me, and that's just me. I mean, I prefer that over, anything you can do pass defense-wise with a pick here and there or pass breakups, mostly covering tight ends and helping to double, right, wide receivers. That's fine. But, man, the Browns have got to have, as porous as the run defense is, you got to have linebackers and strong safeties, free safeties that can tackle. And Thornhill has been able to do that, as you said, a couple of Super Bowls with the Kansas City Chiefs. So I like Tomlinson and I like Thornhill, and I think both these guys, if they can just do what they've already done in the NFL, you know what I mean? Just play at that level, because it's been good with Minnesota with Tomlinson. As I said, the New York Jets before that, and Thornhill with Kansas City, 4-year starter on a team that's won 2 Super Bowls while he's been a starter. So just, can you play like that, both those guys specifically? If they can, well, that's going to help the Browns, no doubt.
That's what they need from these guys, and that's why they're signing them. 3 years, $19 million for Obo. 4 years, $57 million for Delvin Tomlinson. Hurst gets a 1-year deal. Hill gets a 1-year deal. Thornhill is 3 years, $21 million. Not a lot locked up in guarantees, Reg. 14 mil for Thornhill. Obo gets 12.5, 27.5. And again, he's the bell cow, the star of this free agent class in Tomlinson. So that's where a lot of the guaranteed money went there. And they were able to do that because Deshaun Watson decided, you know what? Okay, I'm going to get my money one way or the other. But if I want to compete for the division championship, for the AFC championship, for a Super Bowl championship, we don't have the roster right now, and I'm tying up a lot of that money. So he was willing to restructure his contract to free up some cap money, and that allowed Andrew Berry and company to go make these moves, all 5 of them right there on defense. They also bring back Sione Takitaki, and don't know when he's going to be ready, Reg, right? He's coming off the ACL, so that's still an area for me that is a concern now based on looking at the roster. Anthony Walker supposedly it was going to check out Washington along with the interest in the Browns. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah had a nice year last year, so he'll need to step up, especially if Walker isn't back with this team, and you don't know when Takitaki is going to be back from the ACL injury. So that's still an area for me that is a biggest need right now. However, Jim Schwartz wanted to secure the front 4, so he can only rush 4 and drop 7, whoever those 7 might be. So I think that's, that came through loud and clear to the front office. Hey, you want me to become your defensive coordinator? Well, here's what I need. Go get it done. And they did.
Absolutely right. And I'm glad that they listened to the needs and wants and desires of Jim Schwartz, and because I'll put my faith in him just as a starting ground, Kenny, with how to get this defense better, right? Because my God, it's got so many improvements it's got to make at virtually every level of it. We were talking about the D-line and the ability on the edge to get to the passer. Linebackers aren't stout enough, powerful enough, and don't make enough tackles. At least it's something we discussed a lot last year. And, of course, we know the issues that started to happen in the secondary, too. So I like Schwartz, and I like the fact that I got belief in him, and the fact that Andrew Berry went out and got some guys that Schwartz wanted. So let's see where it takes him, Kenny, because I got to think, I don't know, he did not really get a wide receiver. I think they got to get a guy to play the slot, Ken. I mean, that's me. Look, I'm okay with Cooper and Peoples-Jones, and I think David Bell, we've talked about that a lot too. I think David Bell will jump up, but again, none of the three are burners,
right?
And none of the three could take a top off the defense. That doesn't mean they aren't, especially Cooper and Peoples-Jones have proven that they are, solid as 1 and 2 guys. They catch the football. We know that. And they're good route runners. We know that. But again, there's no top end speed there. I mean, I don't know. McCole Hardman.
That's the name I was going to bring up, Reg.
Oh, really, too?
Yeah,
and you and I didn't talk about that together. But no, Kenny, he's a slot guy now.
Right.
He's small guy, 5'9", about 190 pounds. But I've liked what he's accomplished. Again, now he's spent his career with the 2-time Super Bowl champion,
Right.
So he's gone with an extremely good offensive system with Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback throwing the football. But you like that. You want that. So at least – don't we have to feel that Hardman is a guy that understands his way around an offensive pass game? If you could get him in here, I think
Absolutely.
he could help.
Yeah, no question about it. Who's the punt returner? Grant? Is it Jakeem Grant that's coming back?
Yeah, Jakeem Grant, yeah.
Supposedly, and we have Scotty Petrak every week on the Kenny and JT show on WHBC. And Scotty does a fantastic job at brownzone.com and Elyria Chronicle Telegram, Medina Gazette. And talking to him about it. And Daryl Ryder, also from 92.3 The Fan. We rotate, all the guys that cover the team on a daily basis. And speed, obviously, is the biggest need at the receiver position. But Jakeem Grant, supposedly last year, he was there as a punt returner, but they were going to try and use him in that slot, Reg. Yeah. And I don't know how good of a receiver he is. He obviously has some speed if he's a return guy. So I don't know if they think they already have that guy coming off the injury, and therefore maybe they don't go after a Hardman and they look for somebody in the draft. But, Deshaun Watson, he's got David Njoku at tight end. He's got Amari Cooper as a true number 1. Peoples-Jones hopefully emerging as a solid number 2, worst case scenario, number 3, right? David Bell is a possession guy, move the chains guy, but they need that guy that strikes fear in the opposing, defense, takes the top off, and if nothing else, is going to stretch the field to open up things underneath, and maybe you get some big plays in the short passing game on crossing patterns and things of that nature. So it is still the biggest need now. If we go from defense addressing what they did, and their biggest need there still being linebacker on offense, no question, it's wide receiver. But I want to get your thoughts as we're taping this on a Monday night. They signed Joshua Dobbs to a 1-year contract to be the number 2 guy behind Deshaun Watson. Last year, he was the number 3, then he was the number 2, right? Yep. Watson gets suspended, so Brissett starts, and Joshua Dobbs becomes the backup, didn't play a single play with the Browns for 11 games. They cut him. He starts 2 games in Tennessee. They go 0-2. He was about 58% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a fumble. To me, if you're going to contend for the division championship, if you're going to contend for the AFC title, and dare I say a Super Bowl, I don't know if you can have a guy that has 2 career starts as your backup quarterback to bridge the gap between when Deshaun Watson would go down with an injury or some other issue that might arise, hopefully not, and get him back. I don't know if Joshua Dobbs can keep you afloat. That's the concern I have with that signing.
That's fair. Very fair. And because, as we know, hell, I don't know if there's 32 guys who are strong enough quarterbacks to be number 1s in the National Football League, right? Look at all the teams that year after year after year have to or feel they need to make moves quarterback-wise. So, Kenny, now we're talking about backups, right?
Yeah.
Now, so I mean, how can you feel good about a lot of them if a disaster happened and that backup maybe had to play anywhere from 4 to 8 football games? I don't know if Joshua Dobbs is strong enough in his capabilities to handle that, Ken. We haven't seen it. I really don't. And again, to me, I guess what I'm saying is your backup quarterback is such a crapshoot. Unless you have a vet that's, maybe 10 years into the league, right? He's been a starter and a decent one. And then I guess you could say, okay, we feel good about it if an emergency arose, that the whole world wouldn't fall apart if that guy had to come into play. But I don't know that about Joshua Dobbs.
Yeah, so that's my area of concern there with that signing. I like that they brought back Ethan Posick to be the starting center or the backup or whatever it is. If Harris is healthy, he'll battle Posick for the starting job, and the other guy becomes an important backup at center and at the guard position. So I thought that was a nice move. They brought back A.J. Green, which is good for the secondary. Greedy Williams is gone, so bye-bye Greedy Williams. So cornerback is probably an area of need maybe in the draft, Reg. With their 8 picks that they have starting, I think, at number 42 in the second round as of right now. Jacoby Brissett, obviously not going to be the backup. He signs with the Washington Commanders. They also lose Winovich and Taven Bryan, which is fine. Neither one of them were worth it. Roda, they were dog crap last year. So good riddance to both of those guys. That's why they went out and got Hurst, Tomlinson, Okoronkwo, and Hill. So far, decent offseason for the Browns in free agency. Let's see what else they do either in free agency or potentially with trades and then into the draft the last week of April.
Yeah, well, and listen, I think because I got in a conversation, over the weekend. Let's say that we don't know for sure. I mean, he hasn't come out and said. We're just surmising that Andrew Berry is still going to try to make a move in the wide receiver category, right?
Yeah.
Well, what if he doesn't? And he comes back, so you got your 2 that that you can depend on. And as I said, I believe in David Bell, but hey, we haven't seen it yet. I'm just saying, I think the young man has got the goods to be a solid possession guy in the National Football League. But hey, he's got to go out and still prove that and show that. How would you feel if there wasn't a move made at the wide receiver position?
I wouldn't be happy, Reg. Not at all, because another weapon that you counted on the last couple of years, catching balls for you out of the backfield, Kareem Hunt is no longer going to be here unless nobody offers him anything and he comes crawling back to the Browns, right?
I got a feeling he might be back, Ken.
Really? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That would alleviate some concern for me. Not a lot. I still want that guy that's going to go down the field 50 yards and let Deshaun Watson air it out and try and get a big play out of it, a pass interference penalty, or like I said, at least if nothing else, stretch the defense and open up things underneath. For me to contend for the division, conference, and Super Bowl, they've got to get a deep ball threat, and they don't have that right now, in my opinion. So could they get by and be a 500 team, 9-8 without it? Yeah, probably. Okay. With Deshaun Watson and the expectations that come with him now in his second year with the Browns, first full year, if you will, with the Browns. But in order to compete with the Bengals, with the Chiefs, with the Bills, with the Jaguars who are on the rise, right? You've got to have a deep ball threat there. And they don't have that. So Andrew Berry's got to find it somehow, some way before the season starts, in my opinion.
Were you a little bit surprised that they didn't make a run at his former pass-catching mate, Deshaun Watson, I'm talking about, with the Houston Texans and Brandon Cooks?
Where did he end up today? He signed with somebody.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I'll have to look it up. I'll see where it is. But, I saw he signed somewhere. I was surprised by that as well. Now,
Dallas.
Dallas. Okay.
Stayed in Texas with Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. Now, for me, and this is just
I thought, just because of the connect with Watson, I thought that might be the guy they go after.
For me, personal reasons only, he cost me in fantasy football a few years ago. I don't like the guy. All right. So I want nothing. Just like tonight, I bet some money on the 76ers beating the Bulls. Sixers are at home. They're on a winning streak. The Bulls stink. And the guy that I can't stand, that I think is one of the most overrated players in the NBA, James Harden, goes out and lays an egg and goes about 2 for 18 tonight. And that's why they have no chance of winning an NBA championship, regardless of how good Joel Embiid is. So I have personal reasons for some guys that I don't want to be a part of any of the teams that I cover or teams that I root for. And James Harden's one in the NBA. I would take, you ready for this? I would take Sasha Pavlovich over James Harden on the Cavaliers. I would take wrong way, Ricky's Davis. And how about Giannis Antetokounmpo pulling a Ricky Davis's, trying to get the triple-double, missing a shot on purpose. So getting back
Giannis can't do that, man.
No,
He's
that's
one
a bad
of the top
look.
players in the world. That's not a good look for Giannis Antetokounmpo.
No, not at all. But getting back to Cooks, who I'll pass.
Okay.
I thought they might. And for the reason that you laid out with the relationship there, but maybe they've got something else up their sleeve. Let's hope so, because they need to address that before the season starts.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm with you. I just, if it doesn't happen, does this definitely, I will say, I hope they're not sitting there in Berea and thinking or making themselves believe that Anthony Schwartz is going to make a big jump this year. Please don't. If they're doing that, I'm going to have to question them then. I get it. You drafted a guy, and that's Andrew Barry's guy. Yeah. He drafts him, and so you want to give him every opportunity. But Kenny, remember from Corey Coleman?
Oh, ooh.
And I'm not sure Schwartz is. Coleman, in his rookie year, caught the ball a little bit, but was just a bumblehead with everything else, and just a complete failure as a Browns receiving draft pick. And I just hope they're not trying to convince themselves in Berea that, we're good because Schwartz is going to take this big jump.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. If they do, I'll raise holy hell on the radio, on this podcast, on social media. If they say we're going to give Anthony Schwartz one more year at this. So let's see what they do. They've got some time yet to address that via trades, free agency, and the draft. All right, let's get a break in, Reg. And when we come back here on the R&R podcast, powered by MGM Northfield Park on the Press Play Podcast Network, we're going to talk some Cavs and March Madness when we return here on the R&R podcast right after this.
What's up, everyone? I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Tybus Powell.
And we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the dog pound coverage that you'll need to get you through the regular season, hopeful postseason, and I'd say off-season, Tybus, but is there really ever an off-season for this team?
Thankfully for our podcast, Holly, there really never is when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Don't miss our breakdown of each week's matchup, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we know, Holly, dogs gotta eat.
Yes, they do. So hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of the Orange is Oranger, Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey everybody. I'm Gary.
And I'm Jason. Opening cards as a kid, no matter what was in the pack, you always had that stick of chewing gum. Well, it turns out Gary and I opened up a box of 86 Tops last year, and let me tell you, the chewing gum does not age well.
Join us on the Ball Card Show,
the sports podcast for the sports collector.
And we continue with the Reghi and Roda podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network, brought to you by MGM Northfield Park. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. Catch the excitement of live harness racing every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday evening with a 6 p.m. post time. Wager and win daily on top thoroughbred and harness tracks from around the world with action starting around noon. Plus, you can enter to play the free handicapping contest every Sunday for a chance to win cold, hard cash. How about top prize? $500. You could use that. Sure, you can. Register there at 11 a.m. at the track. Free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. All right, Michael Reghi, as we tape this, the Cavaliers right now have a record of, let's see here. I want to make sure I get this right. 45-38 is their record, Michael, as they head into the final 9 games of their regular season. 2 at Brooklyn, home against Houston, at Atlanta, Knicks and Pacers at home, 2 at Orlando, and then they close it out with Charlotte at home. So 9 games left as of the taping of this, 2.5 up on the New York Knicks for that 4th and all-important 4th seed in the Eastern Conference for home court advantage. Reg, they're 44 wins. Yeah, 44 wins last year. So they've already exceeded last year's win total, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, here's a chance in the next 9 to go 5-4 and hit 50 wins and secure that 4th spot. I didn't expect 50. I thought about 46, 47. So 50 would be a pretty impressive season for this young team, wouldn't it?
And they're going to do 50 because as you laid out that schedule, I mean, they got no excuses if they don't, because they're not playing a team that has a better record than they currently have for the rest of the way. So they should be able to grab those, at least go 5-4 and hit that 50 win plateau. But Kenny, I've really, went to the Sixers visit to the Cavs last week. It had a playoff feel and a lot of that same type of intensity to it where every possession meant something. Cavaliers, had a shot to win, but, Joel Embiid is just not a good matchup for them. And then you throw in the fact that it doesn't matter if he's on the road. Kenny, the man's going to shoot 15 free throws every night. We know that. And it's not just against Cavaliers. I know a lot of Cavaliers fans are bitching to me about, hey, well, no, you're not watching because he goes to the line a dozen to 18 times every night shooting free throws. So, hey, he's one of the guys that, you get too close to him, you're going to get whistled. I don't know about the matchup against Philly, Kenny. I know you're not, you're not real high, and you're on James Harden. He can, he can do things to go back and relive some of his Houston days and play terrific. And he did play well against the Cavaliers last week, but it isn't consistent anymore. So, but it's Kenny, to me, it's looking like I think the Knicks are going to hang on. Cavaliers aren't going to drop.
By the way, Reg, I'm going to interrupt you real quick.
Sure.
Final from Madison Square Garden tonight. Minnesota 140, the Knicks 134.
Oh my goodness!
And
it's strange. The Knicks remember the days, man, their games would be in the 80s, and now they are an offensive, let's just go and put up $130 and we'll outscore everybody every night.
And tonight,
with Tom Thibodeau, I just wonder how he really feels about that.
Tonight, Julius Randle, in a losing effort, went for 57.
Oh, my
57
goodness.
points for the Knicks tonight, and they lose. So the Cavaliers' lead now over the New York Knicks is 3 games.
Yeah.
And the Knicks, let's see, that gives them 73 games. So they have 9 games left as well. So both teams now have 9 games left, and the Cavaliers have a 3-game lead, 3 in the loss column, 31 losses for the Knicks, 28 for the Cavaliers. So
the
Cavaliers
Knicks would have to, if the Cavaliers do that 5-4 we're talking about, the Knicks got to go 9-0.
Yes.
To
hit 51 wins and surpass them. Yes.
And Miami, that's not
happening. No. Miami may overtake Brooklyn for the 6th seed.
Okay.
Which I think is going to happen. Now it's only a game difference. But yeah, so the Cavaliers get some help here tonight. Let's hope now you go into Brooklyn for 2 games in 3 nights.
Right?
Yeah. You at least split. Worst case scenario, you split there. Okay.
Yeah.
Ideally, you want to get both of them because that's a team in transition now after the trades and whatnot, and they've been falling as of late. But at least go 1-1 there. Then you've got to win at home against Houston. Last game of the season is Charlotte. That's a win, in my opinion. Then you have that head-to-head matchup with the Knicks at home, so they got to come into your building. That's a 2-game swing there. So Cavaliers control their own destiny, Reg. They go 5-4. I think they win the number 4 spot, hit 50 wins, and then we could see a 4-5 matchup between the Cavaliers and the Knicks in the first round in a best of 7. And I think, I was hoping it was going to be Brooklyn. But I think the Cavaliers can beat New York or Brooklyn, either team out of the Big Apple, in that first round in a 7-game series, as long as they have home court advantage. If they don't, I think they would lose that series. If they do, I think they win that series. And should they get then to that second round against whoever it might be, the Celtics, the Bucks, or the Sixers, to me, that's the cherry on top of the sundae. That's house money. And get that experience. Playing against an elite team in a 7-game series, I don't think they stand a chance unless there are some serious injuries against any one of those 3 in the second round. But I'd be happy enough to lose in the second round just to get there, meaning you won a first-round series.
Yeah, I guess it's hard for me to, in all honesty, challenge you on that because I can't tell you as we do our podcast that I believe that they can beat any one of those 3 teams in a 7-game series. To me, I don't think the Cavaliers are tough-minded enough, Kenny, and that would be without home court advantage, right? Yep. So you're going to have to win 1, if not 2. I mean, unless you think in a 7-game series they'd go 3-0 at home, and quite honestly, I don't. So you'd be looking to have to win 2 of those games on the road, Ken. And I don't think they're suited that way yet. From a toughness standpoint and with an understanding about how hard you got to approach that if you're on the road at playoff time.
Yeah. So for me, control your own destiny. Show me you can close out the regular season, get to the playoffs, win the first round series. And after that, I'm okay with what happens. I just want these young kids, Darius Garland, Jared Allen, even though he has a few games of playoff experience, but nothing where he's a centerpiece, right? Evan Mobley. I want these young kids to get the experience of playing in a playoff, not a play-in, a playoff series, winning a playoff series, and then finding out what it takes at the next level in that second round where everything gets ratcheted up a level or 10 defensively, offensively, X's and O's, and the mind games and whatnot. And so just get me there, win that first round series, and then that's the building block heading into next year for me.
Yeah, I really hope that as we come through these 9 games we're talking about, Donovan Mitchell specifically, he's got to get his shot back, Kenny. Yeah. He's not shooting the basketball well at all, especially from the perimeter. And we know he takes a lot of deep 2s and 3s. And so I'm hoping that shot comes back for him, because if it doesn't, it's going to put a lot more onus on, and Darius Garland is shooting the ball pretty well, for the most part. Look, young man, I don't like when he takes 22 to 25 shots a night, but I guess a lot of times you got to feel he has to. Karis LeVert has really started to play well the last 7 games, averaging about 14 a game. But what I like, Kenny, is he's shooting 50% from the floor and 42% from 3 and averaging about 5 assists per game too. So, if LeVert can continue there, I would hope Knicks they win that first round, because if they don't win that first round, and that's going to mean a lot of consistency from Evan Mobley too. But you don't win that first round. Now you start to, you got to ask yourself a lot of questions about what this year really did for them then, right?
Yeah. Oh, no question. No question. To me, I just wanted them to make the playoffs this year. Now, after seeing what they've done, and they've maintained that fourth spot, for almost the entire second half of the season, I need to win a first round series as well, Reg. I do. Mm-hmm. So let's see. Let's hope they can do that. It's going to be fun following them. I'm looking forward to playoff basketball again for the first time in Cleveland without a guy named LeBron James on the team since 1998. They haven't been to the playoffs without a guy named LeBron James on the team. Yep. So that'll be a big step forward for them.
Let me get your intel on one of these things, because as I was there last week, I'm thinking I got to ask Kenny this, because JB Bickerstaff getting a lot of flack about his rotations, about he pretty much is playing 7 right now, Kenny. And I'm almost ready. You want LeVert to come off the bench and continue to lead that second unit. And as I said, he's doing that in the last 7 games very well. I'm starting Lamar Stevens at that forward spot. I know you're not big there anyway, but man, I'm going to go with Stevens, because I'm going to go with a guy I know that's going to defend his butt off and fight his ass off against everybody. I'd rather see that than having Isaac Okoro out there going and running and hiding in the corner and nobody defending him. I really would.
Reg, they drafted him. Remember, we talked about the Browns and how when you draft a guy, you tend to give him maybe that extra year, or, give him the benefit of the doubt when he shouldn't have it. They'll tell you that he's improved his shooting this year and that he's a better defender than Stevens. I don't think so. I think they're about equal defensively, and I like Stevens' shot better than I like Okoro. So I'm with you on that. I need LeVert to do what he's been doing in the playoffs, okay? Because he's going to be the king of the second team. He's going to be the leader. Rubio's still not right, nope. And he has struggled. Dean Wade, Dino, has struggled. He's not 100%. Danny Green, is JB going to use him, or is he saving him for the playoffs? Or explain why they went and signed him then, because that game against Philadelphia was a perfect example where he could have been used, and they elected not to use him. So yeah, I'm not sold on JB as well. Having said that, Reg, they're going to win 50 games, so I don't want to be too hard on them, right? But you and I are looking further down the road against the better teams and saying, okay, that's where he doesn't match up well as a head coach.
Right. And again, I mean, I know you get to hell. He's probably only going to play 7, maybe an 8th a little bit. But, I can't see him putting Dean Wade on the floor right now.
No.
Can he?
No.
I guarantee you, unless something changes and unless Ricky Rubio gets himself right, his minutes are going to be limited, because he doesn't look that good to me. He just doesn't look that good to me. Now, it could be still injury related. I don't know, but Bickerstaff's going to have to figure some things out rotation wise and how he wants to go about this. No question.
I'd like to see Raul Neto in there for defensive purposes late in the game instead of Rubio.
You
might I'm serious. And everybody like, Raul Neto, what are you talking about? But yeah, defensively, yes. He'll help defend, do the matchup game, right? In and out, Matt, get Garland out of there, get Neto in there. He's a pain in the ass. He's that pesky little Dellavedova type defender. So we'll see if that happens. Hey, before we get out of here on the R&R podcast, your thoughts on our Sweet 16 and upsets galore? Instead of March Madness for my brackets, it's March Sadness, my friend. I got 3 out of 4 Final Four teams left, but the first 2 rounds, I didn't. Rhoda, you were awful. I didn't do a doodly squat in the first 2 rounds with my brackets, man. So I'm just like, you know what? And I wagered on some games as well. And the only one I got right this weekend was Gonzaga. That was about it, my friend.
Really?
So, yes.
Wow.
And I picked them to win the whole thing. So we'll see. But your thoughts on what we've seen so far in March Madness?
Yeah, well, and again, it's when you get Fairleigh Dickinson winning a basketball game and Florida Atlantic and those two playing right in a second round matchup, it's been wild, but you expect the unexpected. And Kenny, I went with a couple of 2 seeds, both UCLA and Texas.
Okay,
are the two, so they're both still alive. UCLA. I know they're going to defend you. They lost their third leading scorer due to injury, but man, I like Mick Cronin a lot, and I think Texas has got enough themselves as well to be able to get to the Final Four. So those are the two that I put most of my confidence in. And, I don't know. I still don't think Houston's going to get there.
No, me neither. I'm with you. I have Zaga playing Texas on the right side of the bracket, and I have Bama. I had them playing Marquette, who was knocked off by Izzo and Sparty somehow, some way. But then I have Bama against Gonzaga in the finals, and Gonzaga winning it all, just flying under the radar, less pressure this year. 32-year-old Drew Timme going to lead them to a national championship with his Ted Lasso mustache, goatee look, whatever you want to call that. So, but I'm with you. Texas looks really good. And you know who else has impressed the hell out of me? That's Kansas State right now, man. Kansas State,
they're good.
They look real. I expect them to be in the Final Four now, playing Bama in the Final Four.
I agree. See, I think they're going to take Izzo out now, either Thursday or Friday night. I think they're going to beat Izzo. I mean, they've got they can put up 85 on you just like that.
Yep.
They've got multiple weapons offensively, and we'll see. But I know, Tom Izzo, he's all about his Spartans being tougher than you, and all of their blocks on the defensive end of the floor. But we'll see. We'll see if they can handle Kansas State. I like Kansas State in that one.
Yeah, so do I. I think they're going to come away victorious and get to the Final Four, and then we'll see what happens from there. Don't know. You were doing high school state championship games on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So you did not get to see the Mount Union Christopher Newport Division III national championship game.
I saw some highlights, but I did not see the game.
Wow. You talk about two evenly matched teams leaving it all out there. 74-72. Newport beats Mount, keeps them from winning their first ever Division III national championship in basketball. Mount had a 14-point lead in the first half, should have had a bigger lead, missed free throws, some shot selection, questions there in the first half. And instead of being up by double digits at halftime, it was only 3. And Newport was horrible in the first half offensively. And then it seesawed back and forth. And I think we had 4 or 5 lead changes in the final 40 seconds of that game. And just remarkable efforts and shots, one after another, after another, after another. And I feel bad for Coach Mike Fueline and the Purple Raiders for coming up a little bit short. I have known Mike since he was coaching at Jackson, and they won the state title in 2010. And now this was a chance for him at Mount Union to win a national championship. And they came up a little bit short, but a hell of an effort. And if you get a chance, if you want to watch a great game, regardless of what division, right? That's a game to see. If you don't even have a dog in the race, aren't rooting for either team, you'll be entertained by these Division III kids that played their asses off for both teams.
That was a special year that they had.
Yep.
And I thought your buddy Coach had a real strong season with that crew, because they weren't expected to be that good.
No.
And go that far. And maybe they had it. They were doing it for their fabulous sports information director Lenny Reich, who passed away earlier in 2022, because I know he was thrilled about how the Purple Raiders played, because that man was a Purple Raider through and through, and I know he's missed by the Mount Union program.
No question about it. Well said, Reg. Hey, real quick, just your wrap up on the state champ. We got about 2 minutes here. State championship games that you called. What'd you see there? And then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, I'll be quick. Akron Hoban winning, that surprised me a little bit. I didn't think they'd beat Pickerington Central, who was last year's champion, and Devin Royal, the Mr. Basketball in the state of Ohio, 6'7", shoots it real well, Kenny, and is a guy who's not afraid to take the ball to the hoop. He's going to Ohio State. Ohio State's top commit, and I think he'll make an impression as a freshman. I don't know if he's going to be Malachi Branham good.
Okay.
But I think he can definitely help the Buckeyes on the offensive end of the floor. He's going to have to handle it a little bit better because at 6'7", if he's going to try to get to the hoop in the Division I college game like that, he's going to have to secure his handle a little bit. But he shoots it pretty well, and he's a decent rebounder too. So I would think he'll be a large help to Ohio State's overall roster composition.
Yeah, and Northeast Ohio wins in all four divisions for the first time in a long time. So congratulations to all the schools from Northeast Ohio who picked up the hardware as state champions for the 2022 season. Let's see. I want to let's give some love to those teams. You mentioned Akron Archbishop Hoban wins it in Division I,
right?
And it was Lutheran East
in D2.
Lutheran East is D3.
D3.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah. And then in D2, it was Buchtel beating Lutheran West to win the title. So congratulations to Akron Buchtel. And then in D4, Richmond Heights destroyed Crestview 70-26. So congratulations to those four boys state championship teams.
Kenny, Richmond Heights might have been able to win all three of the other divisions too. I mean, they're that talented and that good. What a year they had.
Yeah, congratulations to all the coaches, the players, and the schools. All right, Reg, that'll do it for this edition of the R&R Podcast. Shout out to Brent Reitz from Northfield Park for allowing us to be powered by MGM Northfield Park. We appreciate that. Thanks to our producer, Ty Kortz, who does a fabulous job each and every time we put one of these together. And Reg, always a pleasure to catch up with you, and we'll do this again real soon, all right?
A lot of fun, Kenny, as always. Yeah, let's do it again soon.